Okay. Oh, hello, hello, hello. Happy New Year to everybody.
Happy New
Well,
Year.
Happy New Year. So as we see, we're not two, now we're
That's
three.
right. Yep.
We have a guest on our show. So this time I have an honor to host. If you haven't seen brand New Year's Day um, chat, it's on the Comics Cracks channel. So you please go and have a look. We just celebrated New Year and we just talked comics like we always do.
Totally.
And this time I have an honor to have a guest at my videos, which is I'm very glad and lucky to put that on my live feed. So without any further ado, so Mr. Donald Rex, if you want to say
Hello.
hello.
Hello. I'm glad
Welcome.
to be
It's
here.
nice to see you. Thanks for
Yeah.
joining us.
Yeah. I've been looking forward to it. I've been watching the show for a long time.
Oh, nice.
Well,
That's
there you
great.
go. That's very good, and I'm
Yeah.
glad you managed to join us finally.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see you're doing better since last week. You said you
Yeah.
weren't feeling well.
I'm still on about 90%, I guess. I still got a little COVID hanging on, but
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I seem to be doing all right.
Mm-hmm. And we're already having somebody
Hello,
to see. Hello,
Jackio.
Jackio. Nice to see you. And he says thumbs up. There you go. And as always, I have the crack of the cracks.
That's me.
So we're doing as we do all Sundays. We're doing really well this year, actually. Well,
Yeah.
beginning of this year.
2 Sundays in a row.
2 Sundays in a row without a miss. So that's a very good thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, and we're here to talk comics now. Comic strips. Well, we'll find out about comic strips, which for me it will be a lot of fresh things because I am not really versed in comic strips whatsoever. I'm more comics or learning comics still to this day, even though it's been a while. So yeah. I will not start with Donald Craig straight away because I think it's a bit too much.
Well,
I'm gonna put him on,
I was
on the
thinking
spot.
maybe we start with Donald just talking about kind of how he got to
okay.
comic strips instead of showing something like Donald.
Yeah.
Maybe can you tell us a bit about your comic reading history? Like, were you reading ever since you were a kid? Can you just give us a bit of background?
Sure. I've been reading comics all my life, comic books and comic strips.
Mhm.
And I started cutting the comic strips out in the paper when I was, I don't know, 10 or 12 years old.
Okay.
I did that for a long time.
Mhm.
And of course, comic books. I started reading comic books probably about 63 or 64.
Oh, wow.
So I collected them for years and years.
Wow.
And I kind of made a career of selling comic books for most of my life. I just kind of bought them and sold them, and I don't. Comic books for me, the best part of comic books and comic strips too is the physical aspect of it. It's that it's something that you have and you collect and they accumulate in boxes and so.
Do you still have like the comic strips that you were cutting out of the paper when you were a kid? Do you still have those collected in binders or anything? Or
I still have a few of them, although in the years of moving, they kind of went out the door. And the comic strips are not. They don't have the same value that comic books have as far as the number of people who collect them and want them. And just through my life, I've had so many moves that I finally just kind of let some of them go.
Right. But when you were cutting them out, what were some of your favorites like at the time from when you were little?
Well, I like Peanuts, of course, and oh gee. Some of them. Wizard of Id was one of my favorites.
Oh, yeah, nice. Yeah.
BC and all the funny kind of strips mostly.
Right.
I got subscribed the Chicago Tribune, so they had Dick Tracy and Little Orphan Annie and
amazing
strips. But it was mostly just kind of a low key burn. I was mostly a Marvel kid.
Right.
And I just was very lucky in collecting comic books, in the early days, back before Overstreet Price Guide. And, I wanted comics. And so I was like, we put ads in the newspaper and people would say, "Oh, we've got comics," and I'd go over and buy, huge Marvel collection for $20.
Oh, that's amazing.
It was just, yeah. When I got to be a little older, I started selling at the flea market.
Yep.
And I would meet people and say, "Okay, I want this book and I want that book." And one time we were visiting in Chicago with my family. I must have been, I don't know, maybe 14. And I had this list of comics that people at the flea market were looking for. We went into this bookstore, and it was called the Acme Bookstore on Clark Street in Chicago. And I was talking to the guy, and I said, "Oh, I'm looking for this feature book number 10." And the guy goes, "You have to be crazy going into a store asking for a book like that. That's so rare. No one would ever have it."
Right.
And so I walked out of that store. You'll never guess what I walked out of that store with.
No.
Amazing Fantasy 15.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
And Hulk number 1.
Wow.
For $10 each.
No.
Sorry, for how much each?
$10 each.
Oh my gosh.
It was like, it was just a shame that it happened to me when I was so young.
Right.
Because I had no concept of how rare those books were. And, I had them for years, and I ended up selling them for ridiculously low prices.
What year are we talking about there, Donald, when you got those two?
That would have been 72, 73.
Okay. Right.
And but I sold them for less than $100 each.
Right.
Oh.
But my parents thought I was a genius because I bought these comics for $10 and sold it for $100, and they were like, "Wow!" So they let me eventually essentially become a comic dealer and travel around the country going to conventions, and so I got to buy and sell so many comics. Back when I started collecting EC comics.
Yep.
When they were like, a horror comic was like 3 and the science fictions were like 5. And so I had a huge EC collection at one time, and I would collect them, and I'd have them and read them and enjoy them. And then I'd turn around and sell them and buy more. And, I had all kinds of golden age, Supermans and, Captain Marvels and, things that you can't get your hands on these days. But back then, for a moderate price, you could buy that kind of stuff.
Right.
And, but I was at one show, I remember, in Houston, and I had it was all comic books, but I had this little package of daily strips, Ben Casey daily strips by Neil Adams.
Okay.
And they're on the table, and this guy comes walking by, and he stops and he looks and he sees it, and he says, "Do you buy those things?" And I said, "What? The comic strips?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I buy them." And he invited me to his store, and he had this huge box of Sunday strips. And I bought them for $100, and it was like from about 1930 to about 1942.
Wow.
And he had everything that you could imagine: Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon, Captain Easy, Alley-Oop, just everything that you can imagine. These huge, beautiful, mint condition Sunday pages. And back then they had what they called the Comic Buyer's Guide.
Yeah.
It's like way back in the old days, and when it was run by Alan Light.
Right.
And you would write your handwritten ads and send them in, and they would print them.
Yeah.
And I ended up selling that $100 box of comics. I ended up selling for over $10,000.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I think I was the first person that put actual high prices on comic strips, because previously you would see them and someone would have, "Oh, here's 50 strips for $3 or something." And you could get them that way. But these were so beautiful and so amazing that I just decided, well, I'm going to, shoot for the limit. And so, it just it might seem mercenary now, but for me it was just fun. I would get the stuff, and you can't keep things forever. I mean, I was never a really rich person, and I never had a huge house or anything where I could store them all. So I would just turn them over.
Wow.
Right. So if we look back at some of those old comic buyer's guide, we may see some ads from you. Then is what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Many ads. Yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow.
Mhm.
So you were saying that your parents kind of, thought you were genius. You turned this $10 into $100.
Hey,
So your parents kind of let you travel around to other conventions.
Yeah. I lived in. By that time, I lived in Ohio, and I would go to the shows in Columbus and Youngstown and Cincinnati, and then also the shows in Michigan.
Okay.
And we'd go to like during the summer, there'd be a show like every 2 weeks. And I was really fortunate that I got to meet a lot of comic book artists at these shows. And back then they were just very approachable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you could talk to them about anything. And, I got to be close friends with a number of artists like Val Merrick.
Oh, Val. Love Val.
And he lived in Ohio. And Paul Galassi I met, and like Wrightson and Kaluta and Jeff Jones were doing some self-publication things with Christopher Enterprises, printing and portfolios. So they were coming to all the shows, and they would sign anything you'd put in front of them. I mean, they were so nice. And,
it was kind of amazing. And that era of the conventions too, like you're saying, it must have been completely different. Not must have. It obviously was completely different. More of everybody being approachable, like you're saying, and just the atmosphere must have been pretty damn exciting then as well too. Like finding and traveling to see like-minded people at these conventions must have been kind of just incredible.
And being a dealer, you were like in the upper echelon, so that you got to go to the little parties and things that they had for the artists.
Right.
And it was very it was thrilling. It really was.
Cool.
That's super cool, Donald. That's amazing. We're so glad to have you here. It's great to hear this kind of stuff too. So did you want to start us off and talk to us about a couple of the strips that you sent?
Sure. My favorite really of all time is Crazy Cat.
Right.
Okay.
And
let me try.
Yeah, sure. Why don't you bring one up?
There we go.
Yeah, those are the later ones. They were in black and white for many years. Yeah, there's an early one.
Oh, sorry, I'm trying to learn how to. Yeah, okay.
This is a good example here of how he would have like a pantomime strip where things were going on, like they're floating, and then Officer Pup pops up, and then he goes down, and Ignatz pops up, and he sees Crazy, and then he throws the brick, and that's it. Well, he doesn't throw a brick because Pup pops up and sees him, and then it's like all is well. It's all very calm, and the waves are gone.
Yeah.
But
so are these scans from your collection?
Yes.
Okay.
I collected for a long time, and when I retired, I was a carpenter for many years, and when I retired, I had a pretty big collection, and I sold them all on eBay, and I used the money to buy Crazy Cat strips and original art and things like that. So I condensed my comic books into Crazy Cat. I got the first thing I heard about Crazy Cat was that there was a hardcover book in the 60s. And as soon as I saw it, I was really into it. I must have been maybe 16 or 17 when I first saw it. And I was hooked from the very beginning.
Right.
And
I broke my head.
I really enjoyed it. I enjoy more modern strips too. I had Calvin and Hobbes, of course.
Yeah.
And
that's the number more color Crazy Cat.
Yeah, they started doing them in color about 1936. And,
it's beautiful color too, right? Like something about, again, like we've talked about, I think probably a million times, the coloring back then, but plus that now looking at it now with the tanned paper, it seems to even make it more vibrant and rich, like there's a real beautiful quality to it.
Yeah, the technology of the newspaper strips was so wonderful, and they had these great artisans who could make the color just really pop.
Yeah.
Gordo is another favorite of mine. It was Gus Ariola. He started that strip in about 1941 with Mexican characters.
Right.
And it started out as kind of a dopey character, Gordo, who eventually became more and more sophisticated through the years.
Yeah.
And,
he likes the ladies as well.
Yeah.
Gordo likes the ladies. And the ladies like him too, to be honest.
Yeah.
And
which is really nice. Stylistically, at the end of the day, it's really cultural as well. So it's
the one with the pots. I got that on eBay, and I put on a really battle. I think I ended up paying like $40 for that strip.
Right.
I really wanted it. It was like this big bidding battle that we had when I finally got it. It's in beautiful condition. And I just love the silhouettes and the little gag. The kids are always getting the better of Gordo.
There you go. You're educating people as well, which is fantastic.
Yeah, no, that's a beautiful one. I love that one a lot.
And that's the original that I got on eBay.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Well, you can't really make out too well, but the chameleon, he turns into like a newspaper, and it's like, it's like there's newspaper that's glued onto the strip.
Oh.
But in order to do that, he had to join the printers union.
Wow. Yeah, I can see it on this. I don't know if you guys can see it clearly on the thing on the screen, but you can see it on the files you send it, that there is newsprint on that gecko thing.
Yeah.
And here's another daily strip that I've got, original daily, which has kind of got an inflation theme to it, which kind of rings true these days. You can't, these days when it's hard to afford to go out to eat, let alone treat your friends.
Right. Yeah. That's beautiful.
And this next is called Conchi, which was the strip started about 1971 and ran through 1976, when unfortunately the artist committed suicide. But he was James Childress was the artist, and he was very environmentally attuned, and he had a strip that the characters were just on the beach, and there was always a lot of commentary about about ecology and kind of like climate change before climate change was a thing.
Right.
And this is the last. This is the last one I have. I think this is 12 of them. I don't know. She said. I think I got every file you send it to me. So
would you say that strips are something like that's kind of your primary focus these days, or because you were saying before we went live that you don't read a ton of new stuff? So is strips kind of where your interest is these days?
I was posting them on Twitter for the last several years.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It was like, that was like a big focus was sharing what I had. I had the strips, and you would read them and you'd think, oh, I've got these strips, but then when Twitter came along, I said, hey, this really works well. I could scan the strips and put them up on Twitter, and it'll be something to, something to share and to get feedback on. And they became, pretty popular. And I, for various reasons, as you can guess, I quit Twitter.
Yeah.
So now I'm posting them on Mastodon.
Yep. And how's that going over there on Mastodon for you?
Very, very well. Very well.
Yeah, that's good.
Amassed a following pretty quickly, and
okay, cool.
Yeah, no, it's amazing stuff, Donald. That's really, really cool. And again, like not an area that I know a ton about. But I mean, except for kind of the ones that I grew up with, same thing. I mean, every Sunday it was the fight to get the Sunday strips from my dad as he was reading, or stealing them from my brother. And, so it's great. Yeah. They were good to see posts on Twitter like that too. Very cool, Donald. Thanks very much for hanging out with us today. This is going to be great.
Yeah.
Rasa, did you have something to talk about this week?
What about you, Stat? I'll be in charge.
Okay, I'll start. Yeah, absolutely.
No, honestly,
So
I can go, but if you want, you go.
no, sure. No, I'll go. I'll
Okay.
go for it.
Okay.
So not just because Donald was here, but I went yesterday to Red River Bookshop, and they have the upstairs open the first Saturday of the month, and there was 2 copies of this sitting on the shelf. So this is Toon Graphics, Françoise Moulet, her imprint, Art Spiegelman's wife, and this is it's called Little Nemo's Big New Dreams. And there's a variety of artists doing their interpretation of Little Nemo, or paying homage. I'll kind of get to the table of contents here. So we got people like Paulo Riviera, Carla Speed McNeil, Cliff Chang, David Mack, Jeremy Bastian does one here, Rasa,
Nice.
Box
Nice.
Brown, etc., etc. So a really, really great list of people. The only the one minor downside is that everything plays this way, so you do get to kind of fight but honestly, it's not that bad. It's such a well-made book. Like I kind of forced it open a little bit to get it, and everything is perfectly fine. But it's just it was actually a really, really good book. There was some artist names, and they do really well with the credits here at the bottom of each page. They give you the credits again. Just really, really nice idea to see, to give people a chance to do their interpretation. And some of the page layouts are beautiful. There was a couple that took a little bit to kind of get used to, and I had to reread 1 or 2 of them a couple of times because they were playing with like how you read the page and the background and stuff. So there's Paulo Rivera. I'll find that Bastian one there, but really amazing stuff. Really fun. The Box Brown one is fun too. Let's see here. Here we go. So this is Jeremy Bastian.
Oh, look at that. Oh my God.
Ooh, wow.
Of course. He's great. He's such a high detail black and white artist. It's absolutely mind-boggling what he can do.
It's really great.
No, it's really gorgeous. It makes me want, like, I think like Cursed Pirate Girl, as beautiful as the art was, it was a real tough one to read.
Yes.
I think that I would love to see him do more like this. Like, he would be an amazing kind of Sunday strip artist, you know, where you get like one shot from him every week. Because his art is just, as we all know, it's just so stunning, right? It's really, really gorgeous stuff. So
I think
that was one that really stood out to me.
I think it would be quite difficult to have him every Sunday because his art is so high details. I think it takes quite a while for him to finish.
Probably takes him a month to do one. Yeah. This one stood out to me. James Harvey, not a name that I recognize. Not sure if anybody does in the chat. But this is one of the ones that once I got used to what they were doing, I kind of loved it. So it starts over here, and they've numbered. So then you can go along with the surrounding, and you kind of travel around the page. It's really nicely done. Once you kind of zero in on that, and just kind of get used to this one, feels, you know, again, my Little Nemo, I'm not an expert by any stretch, but this one feels like very much like some of those strips, you know, with playing with this entire one page and just moving the story through the page. I love this one a lot. This was one of the highlights for me. Beautiful art too. So this was a really, sorry, what's that, Rasa?
No, it's a pity that the design of the book, I understand, because the higher pages and more, you know, like you spend more, but this would be so much better to have it bigger book, especially if the way it's printed. Oh, what's that? Oh, yeah, nice. He's falling off the
That's a Jim Rugg there from the Kayfabe crew there. So I love that one. That was a nice way to kind of end it. And then they do kind of just a little paragraph on each of the artists just to give you a little history of who they are. Let's see.
So how did you hear about this book, Terrence?
I feel like someone showed it. I want to say that maybe it was Damien that showed it at some point, but it was one of those things that whenever I go upstairs, I always end up looking at the hardcovers that he has on the shelves. And this one was kind of down buried with a bunch of the other kind of the few European graphic albums that he has. And like I said, there was 2 copies of this, and it was $10. So it seemed very reasonable. Again, another artist that I'm not familiar with, but I really like this. The coloring is really nice here too. Beautiful stuff.
Yeah,
almost a horror, almost a nightmare in that story. I'll show you the box brown as well too.
Cool.
This is Little Nemo in Slumberland.
Awesome. That's quite
Box
different.
Brown has done like Andre the Giant. He did the book about Tetris and stuff. So some beautiful stuff there too. As someone's head explodes. So it's a really fun book if you can find it. Yeah, okay, I thought so, Damien. I thought that was the case. If you can find it, I'd say go for it. Even if it was cover price was $16.95 American. Tune-books.com is where you can find their website. Really, really great. A nice kind of slim book, but beautifully done.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
The more people showing this Slumberland stuff, the more I wanted to get into it now. It's like, it's always at the back of my mind. It's like that I now kind of see it, like everywhere in the bookshop. Like, oh, look, it's Slumberland again. So because it's how you say
Taschen?
Yeah.
Yep.
So Taschen has produced. So I saw it for the first time, Taschen in a bookstore locally here, but the price tag was also Taschen.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like something I would like to, I would like to have it, but the price tag always have them.
Yeah.
Have to think about it
for
twice before I want to commit to something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now it's my turn.
Now
sure.
it's you. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Let me see. I remember what to do. Okay. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. I don't know what's going on. I am a bit lost. So my library, last week I was mentioning this about the Moon Knight and that I've read and I have not finished it. Also I finally did it and I really enjoyed it. So the story of Moon Knight and his crazy ways of dealing with situations, especially because he has those split personality things which happening, and in this particularly storyline where, once again, to remind you guys, is Brian Michael Bendis and Alex Maleev telling the story is for him living in LA or in California, and somebody found out that it's there's a bad guy who's want to be in charge and being like a new kingpin of the West Coast. And Moon Knight, because of shooting his own TV show or movies, he was there in that location, and then suddenly we thought that he's part of the Avengers, and maybe he is, but in the back of his head he was talking to Captain America, specifically Wolverine and Spider-Man, who were like those guys who was basically kind of guided him through. Also, he had a help from ex-SHIELD agent who basically was employed by Moon Knight, which was kind of like a play of your typical kind of like maybe Marvel storylines where, you have a main guy who has a kind of like a second in command guy who's helping him to basically like ground him a little bit more or ask him tough questions he doesn't want to hear. And the whole story is all about the bad guy who wants to take over West Coast, and also he has Ultron's head. And apparently, after I've finally read it all, the whole story, found out who's the bad guy and why. Basically, this story is before the Ultron's like event book happened. So this is beforehand. So the bad guy, I actually kind of like spoiler alert. This is the guy. The what is he called? The glass monocle. There you go. Thank you, thank you, Tom. So this guy is Lucino Nefaria. So he is the bad guy, or he's the kingpin of the storyline. And I was really surprised because I'm not really aware of Lucino Nefaria or Luciano. Lucino. It says Lucino. Anyway, the Count Lucino Nefaria. So he is the one bad guy. He has this crazy power, almost like Superman's type of the deal, like where he can shoot and vaporize people. So his rays are vaporizing the the good guys or the bad guys, or whoever he's in front of him, basically. And he's the mastermind behind it because he wanted to basically get ahead of it, because also we found out that Avengers also were aware that Ultron might be probably doing something, even though he was dismantled and put to pieces. But somebody came, like, there's some other nefarious way of dealing to create a new storyline in Marvel Universe, I guess. And also I found out a bit more about Echo, which is another New Days Marvel Universe character I'm not really more familiar with.
Yeah,
I wasn't aware that it says in the name kind of thing, or everybody's calling Echo because she's deaf.
Yeah,
but she can talk to you while you face to her like normally. She even can pick up the phone, which kind of was the funny part of it. So she was calling Avengers and she was asking about Moon Knight to suss him out, because they basically supposed to come up, like, to team up together. And then Carol Danvers, she picks up the phone and she's like, "Who's that?" "Echo." And she's like, "Who's that?" She's like, "Echo." "You know who I am." And she's like, "How do you talk but you're deaf, over the phone?" So that wasn't explained, but that was like just a little tidbit. Oh, okay, nice. Oh, wow, he wasn't there only in 70s. Anyway, so there was another character. His daughter was part of it as well. It's really intriguing story. Unfortunately, her demise wasn't great for Echo. But it's rounded up the story really well, and I really enjoyed it for the first kind of. Even though it is before the event book, but this book just gave me a little bit more that kind of like a funny way of where you see this picture of Moon Knight where he used Wolverine's claws, Spider-Man web, and Captain America's shield. That's how he's basically, because they were so, he was hearing them all the time, like a conscious part of his like split personality senses. He was basically, they were guiding him through all the bad things, how they defeat it, why you should run away. Like, you have this conscious of Captain America, who is always a goody two shoes guy. Then you have Spider-Man, the innocence of save or run away, or maybe help again, but come back again, and so kind of stuff. And of course Wolverine, who's like, just kill, just don't run away, just kill everybody.
Right.
So it was interesting, that take. And honestly, for Michael Bendis' book, I probably first thing of this superhero writing, I thoroughly enjoyed, maybe because of Moon Knight and his personality and how they delved into this storyline. So I honestly, since that last talk last week, I was thinking I would not give a 2 cents because I wasn't giving enough attention. But I was starting reading it back again, and I was like, "Oh, this is getting better. Oh, okay, this is getting better," which is good actually. But honestly, I don't want to read an event book because knowing events prior to that, my experiences, I don't know if they're still good or if they're just frustrating. But stuff like that prior to that, or to build up a storyline, really worked for me with Moon Knight. So
yeah, I mean, even Maliv's art in that one looks like it's. What's the year on that series again?
Let me see what it's. I don't know. I probably will tell you the collected year. 2011.
Okay, yeah.
No, so it's this 2011 stuff. So it's the Age of Ultron. I think that's what the event was starting. But honestly, the Maliv's art is great. He has very.
Ooh, look at that.
You could be really good for
make yourself big again for those pages.
Yeah, I think Daredevil would suit him as well because of
absolutely.
But don't forget who's the colorist. Now that's
he did Daredevil with Bendis. He did. There's 3 trades of it.
Yeah. So Matthew Wilson for the first 6 issues and Matt Hollingsworth for the last. So this is Matt Hollingsworth coloring.
Nice.
So you see we're more familiar with him. Well, I am at least more in sense, but that's his power. What he does is basically completely vaporize people, smithereens. So I thought maybe he had magic because it's a Count Nefarious, or maybe like he looks almost like Doctor Strange / because of have red cape and the way he's kind of like he has a beard. Like the pony, like the goat thingy.
The goatee.
Yeah, goatee, exactly. Look at me talk. Always on. But then they also mentioned the West Coast Avengers, and this is like Night Shift. I was like, what? And apparently, because of course, it would be great to have Dr. Monkeybot because he knows all about that kind of realm, Marvel crazy. So apparently, West Coast Avengers is a quite good read. So this kind of team would be interesting for me because this guy is a TikTok. He's called TikTok, and his power is to foresee the future. Apparently.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And the people saying yes, Malif's sweet one, did he? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good run, like really good.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's well worth getting. You can get it in.
Oh yeah, you're gonna show me.
Yeah, I think it's just the 3. I think it's just the 3 volumes. So that's book 3. They're all really thick ones too. So just check them out.
So Echo, I think it's her first appearance from that series. If I'm correct.
Okay. That could very well be.
Because I saw, because of course you read about something and you do research like a comic book reader does. It's like, what's first appearance of Echo? And then apparently it was, maybe not in this series, but Dark Knight, Daredevil Dark Knight, she appeared there first.
Oh,
I don't know which issue. I don't remember.
Right.
So.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that looks really good, actually. That sounds pretty cool, too. I love the white costume, so it's nice to break up the page and see that white space is kind of neat.
And the way I didn't show many, like, because it's kind of intriguing to see how the story, because the story starts kind of like wacky, like always Moon Knight have, because you don't know what's happening. Is it true? When he was even talking to Echo, he kind of like had to like, are you real? And she's like, what are you talking about? I'm right here, like, right in front of you. Because it wasn't, like, because of that, so many voices he can hear in the background. He doesn't know, sometimes perceives himself to what's actually real or what's not. So they had good snippets of humor as well, which I enjoyed it, because I think it's really needed. Because if you go really dark, like what tend to happen many times, if like kept it really seriously, I think that would be maybe a turn off point, because like, I don't want it. I just need some relief at some point.
Yeah.
But it seems to be he really thought out when he wrote this. So I don't know. As I say, it was really impressive. I really enjoyed it, and it wasn't like like another superhero kind of storyline.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool.
Good. Right. Does Donald have something else to share? Maybe we should ask him a question, which I wasn't really prepared for.
Do you have anything else for us handy there, Donald?
Well, yeah, I wanted to share. If you're interested in comic strips, there's something called the Billy Ireland Cartoon Library and Museum.
Yeah.
And if you look at that, if you look at that on your browser, it'll tell you, it'll take you to their website, and they always have a lot of information about. They have exhibits that they put on in their museum, but there's also this comic book that you can download. It's called Bill Blackbird, the collector who rescued comics. I don't know whether you've heard of Bill Blackbird.
I have not.
All of these comic strips that are being reprinted from IDW and all these different publishers, they all root back to this guy Bill Blackbird, who during I think it was the 60s, he was a big collector of comic strips, and he heard that the libraries were getting rid of they were putting their collections onto microfiche and getting rid of the volumes. So he like traveled around the country and collected up all these volumes of newspapers from libraries all over the country, and he had them in his house in San Francisco. And for years, he was just like doing, research with them, trying to put together complete runs of strips and stuff. And then as he got older, he decided that he had to do something with this great collection. And so the Billy Ireland Cartoon Library in Columbus, it's like at the university, I think it's the University of Ohio. I'm not sure, but they arranged for them to take over the collection, and it was like, I don't remember how many truckloads of 16-wheelers just taking this collection to Ohio. But there's a comic book that tells the story that was written by Jenny E. Robb and illustrated by Alec Longstreth. And if you go to the website, you can download the comic book, and it tells the story about this collector and how he saved these comic strips.
Wow.
Because if it hadn't been for him, they would have just gone into the dustbin of history, and they wouldn't be available at all.
Right. Just
Yeah,
crashed. Absolutely.
Is this the museum you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you look under, I'm not sure where to look.
Mm-hmm.
If you search for Bill Blackbird, though, I'm sure that comic book will pop up.
Have you been to the Billy Ireland there, Donald?
No, I haven't. I wish
No.
I wish I had.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't been there yet, but my days aren't numbered yet. So
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, still time to make a trip. Yeah, no, I've heard about it a bunch of times. I think from the usual suspects on YouTube, and it just sounds just amazing. Having that archive, and it's funny, like you said though, like absolutely rescuing that stuff, because it just would have been junked and burned and thrown away, and so that's quite an undertaking.
Try searching for Alec Longstreth.
Okay.
ALEC
LOND. Wait. Is there? No, Alec the Great. Alec the Great. I don't know. I wanted to do it quickly so to show people, but
no, it's going to be a lot of Alex. But if you go into Alec space Longstreth, LONG STRETH, I think is how you spell it.
like that.
No S on the end.
Oh,
but try to search that and see if it pops up.
sorry, my spelling doesn't look like it's gonna be doing any justice. Okay, I'm gonna just pop this away from it. If I find it,
Bill Blackbird would probably be better to search. Bill Blackbird.
Okay, let's do.
But anyway, people can do that for themselves.
Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, it would be a trip worth taking for sure to see that stuff. Do they have it like
Blackbeard? I'm sorry, Blackbeard, not Blackbird.
Sorry, me not hearing it.
Do they have stuff? Is it all kind of, you look at everything through glass, or can you actually see some collections? I
think that you can actually talk to them if you get in touch with them in advance. If there's something that you want to see, they'll actually dig it out for you to look at. And
cool.
They've got like huge collections of. There's.
I can't anyway. Can't find it.
Milton Caniff's archives are there. So you can see all of his stuff, and I've read of collectors that have gone there and seen just amazing things that were just that they could actually see and touch.
Yeah, sit and actually flip through, and
Nice,
super cool. So do you have the collection, these strips that you have now? Do you have like some flat files where you keep things, or how do you store the strips that you do have?
Yeah, I store them in. In flat boxes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I guess like bagged and things too, or do you have any? I'm assuming you have some sort of protection for them.
Well, I have a stack, and then you put them in a bag with acid-free board.
Gary Usher, hello, Gary.
Gary, hello. And he said that
another ex-Twitter.
Yeah, I could probably post a link to that.
Yeah.
I don't know how I could do that right now, but I could maybe send it to you, and you could put it in.
Yeah, I can put it in the show notes afterwards, or I can comment it under the video as well for people to see. So if you send it via email, I can do it.
And if you send images, you can probably download them to show them. Yeah, I might have to come over to Mastodon to check things out there, Donald, if you guys are over there.
Mastodon's a very interesting place. It's totally different from Twitter.
Right.
There's no algorithm, so in order to become acclimated with the site, you have to actually follow hashtags or follow people. Just the trick is just follow anybody that you find to be interesting.
Right.
Boost posts that you think boost is what they call retweet. But boost posts that you think are interesting, and then people will come and follow you. And it took me like 10 years to get 500 followers in Twitter, and I got it in like 2 months. And
oh wow.
So
yeah, so it sounds like a Tumblr. Tumblr was the same thing where you just kind of you had to follow people, and then you could kind of see their feed.
Yeah.
So why don't we, like, since I have these here, why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey with everybody's favorite Peanuts?
Oh, dude, I started reading Peanuts when I was, I guess it started about the year I was born. And,
right.
And so, like, I've always been reading Peanuts, and had all the little paperbacks that came out. And that's a great strip.
I found some of these at there's a bookstore, unfortunately, that's going out of business, and they had a bunch of they had a ton of little Peanuts digests for a couple of bucks each. They were having 50% off of everything. This Hey Peanuts was one that I picked up because this early era of Peanuts I absolutely love. It's some of my favorite stuff. I love the design of the characters. It doesn't last for a long time, but there's something even more childlike about the way he drew them near the beginning. This collection, I think, is 60s, probably. Or sorry, no. Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah, this is the Fawcett 1967, but it's copyrighted material from 52, 53, and 54. So that 50s era stuff. I love. This was the first one I opened up when I came home, just because it just really resonates with me, this style. So do you have a favorite era of some Peanuts stuff there, Donald, or what do you say?
Yeah, I like those early ones a lot, but I also like the ones in the mid 60s where I don't know, those were the time when I was a kid, and I just really remember those very vividly.
Yeah.
When, it was a lot more focused on Linus and Lucy.
Yeah.
Although I like the new characters that came out later.
Yeah.
Very interesting too. Marcy and Peppermint Patty and
right. Yeah, they had to. There was a couple of these ones, so they're a little bit bigger than like the digest size. They're a little bit thinner as well too. But I don't see these ones around so much. And what year do we have in this one? Let's see here. Yeah, this is first published 1968. So, but it's copyright 1967. So this era of stuff. And then the other one that I found was We're on Your Side, Charlie Brown. Just another kind of small digest size. Like I said, he had a ton more. The other thing they did, I don't know if I'm assuming it was just with these books, is putting in these backgrounds for some reason. I don't know why, to break up the page. I mean,
the page, yeah.
Yeah, it looks perfectly fine without that stuff. Luckily, they don't do it too much, but they do it a couple of times. I don't know. I think it kind of detracts from it, but this, I mean, I'm tempted to go back and look for some more. I've got about 8 or 10 of these little books now at this point. But I mean, like I said, it was a shelf just filled with them, and all kind of $4, $5, $6, so 50% off of that. Unfortunately, they're going out of business, but when we went, it was packed. It was jam-packed, that place. You were kind of walking through the aisles like this just to get around. Everybody loves the sale, I guess. So
yeah.
I think these days everybody
look great.
Yeah, they're fun. I mean, Peanuts, and the thing is, I can still, even the strips that I've read before, I can still read them again and still really get enjoyment. There's 4 real laugh out loud moments for me with this, and there's such a nice kind of feeling, like that ever talked about nostalgic kind of feeling that I have for some of this stuff. Just sitting and flipping through these books again, it's so nice to sit with the characters and read those strips. But there was a couple of legitimately funny, I should have marked things, I didn't, but just really beautiful. To tell such a nice little gag or a little story in 4 panels is just an unreal art form. To have that kind of concise way about you to tell a little story is fantastic.
Yeah.
Instead of having to rely on a big event and 19 books and 4 panels, man, 4 panels.
Yeah.
Yeah, would be a difference. Imagine Marvel or DC would come up with that kind of stuff, and it becomes so popular that everybody
He was
will
such
read.
a genius in the way he did that.
But it's not easy to capture the people, like in 4 panels, and then you have to be so precise. You need to tell, like even the artwork, it works for your own benefit, but still, only 4 panels. I mean, how many modern artists these days you would ask them to pick 4 panels only and tell me the story or gag or something? I don't know how easy that is.
On YouTube, there's a little documentary on Charles Schulz that you can see. And I mean, he had like 5 kids. And at the beginning of the documentary, it talks about him taking his kids to school every day and on the way picking up some of their friends. So he's got a car filled with kids. And one of the things he comments on is that he, obviously he loves doing it because he gets to spend time with his kids and kind of balance that work-life thing. But it's also he must be getting material, because he's like, you can see their personalities at this age. I don't remember how old they were in that documentary. I want to say 8-10 years old, around there, but they got a couple Garfield trades. Yeah, sorry, Jackie. That's it. I'm afraid someone with a wrench block that guy. No, not at all. Don't do it. It's just great to see, like, having that material around you, having these personalities. I'm sure fed into some of their friends and his kids. I'm sure that he got some good moments from just those real interactions, watching them for the strip too. So,
well, the kids come up with so many things. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a really joy of, I don't know, they just blab out some stuff, like, and you don't realize, us, like, after.
Yeah, they sure do.
We just fill with problems, nothing to enjoy, and we need funny books to relax us. For some of us, especially, like myself, and particularly, I tend to forget, and it's like my son had talking about the kids and stuff. My son took those cucumbers, and he just like pretended it's a sword and started fighting me. He's like, I was like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah,
but those beauty stuff like that, kids.
Yeah.
Oh. The sir of the reading is
hello, Chaos
Comics.
How are you up to 500 comics yet?
Already? Like, it's only 8. I think you probably finished by
250. Sorry, 250.
Oof. The amount of that man is reading.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Do you, Terrence, gonna do more? What you read, or do you want me my turn?
Sure, I'll do another quickish one.
Go on.
I tried out the other thing that he had upstairs. He's got some of these Humanoids graphic albums, which all the interesting ones I think I have at this point. But this one looked kind of interesting. There was only, you're at 5. Oh man, you're slacking.
Yeah.
He had 2 copies of this one too. I think it's just the one book. The art, it was names that I wasn't familiar with. DP Philippi and OG Boyce Commune. Oh boy, yeah.
That sounds like very bad.
It was, what are you talking about? I nailed it.
Yeah.
So a little story about this kind of group of kids who, I don't know if they're homeless or if they're just from an orphanage or something. It doesn't really talk in detail about that, but it's this group of them that are getting together. And one of them who's kind of new to their group, there's a challenge to become kind of a, they're not quite a gang, but to kind of become one of the group. He's got to go into this, there's this cemetery with this house, and he's got to go into the house to just grab something from it to prove that he was inside. He goes in and finds, there's the house there. So it's nice. It's nice enough looking art. Just the story kind of fell apart a little bit. I feel like it could have stretched out in a little bit of a different way, maybe even just a 2-volume book.
Okay.
But here's what he finds inside. He finds this library, and he steals a book, and it's called the Book of Jack, which is his name. His name is Jack. And what they find out is this book is basically his life. And as he kind of goes day to day, the book updates itself. So one of the things they start to wonder is, what if I write stuff in the book? Will that kind of change my destiny? And one of the other kids who's kind of, he's sort of like the leader, I guess. this guy here, he ends up stealing the book from him and writing into it that he's going to turn into some creature. You're not quite sure if it's a werewolf. Turns out to be some sort of dog creature. You can see some of the transformations happening here. So it's just now the rest of the story is just kind of quickly going to see if they can hunt down the book and get it back to reverse it. So here's kind of what he ends up as right at the end. So it's a fun enough little book. Yeah, like I said, I would have liked to have seen it stretch out a little bit more because it is an interesting idea. And I'm curious about these creators too. I haven't looked into anybody yet, but it's always great. And again, like even showing it on the camera, I'm having it back away. It's just so nice. It's just so amazing to have these this size, right? Like just such a pleasure to sit and flip through. Yeah, because some of those pages are really beautiful and the coloring is really great as well too. I don't know what year this is from, but 2000 is when it's from. So 22 minor years ago, just a couple of years ago.
So
the sleeping train, I like that.
Yeah, he's going. Sleepy train, 2023, mostly reading back issues. What's that? It's reading.
Yeah,
so?
Absolutely.
So if I would be putting that list, if I just putting new things, I will be like 20 in the whole year because that's how much I picked probably.
Right.
I don't have pull list whatsoever. So
this year I'm doing this. I've got myself a little
fancy red book
moleskin, so I'm making my list here as I go instead of posting it because I still want to track what I'm reading. I still want to see what I'm reading and at the end of the year. So it's kind of a little different this time.
That's ambitious.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if I keep up with it. It's only a week into January. Ask me again in like April or May if I'm still. How's the book going? Then we'll talk. We'll see if it's still there.
I think if you want to start doing this way, you need to buy a fountain pen, a writing desk, a feathered fountain pen. That's make sure.
Yeah.
Because that's what I would do. Actually, honestly, talking about it, I love writing now with fountain pen rather than ballpoint.
Right.
I don't know how. I mean, it's age, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I was like, I just want fountain pen now.
Yeah, all that ran through my head. Believe me, it really did.
Yeah.
But I only went this far, and I've just got regular kind of pens to write in it. But I am color coding the companies. So like, black ink for Marvel, DC, blue ink for Image and stuff, just so I can track. And then Independence and self-published is green ink. And again, talk to me in a couple of months to see if I'm still doing that or if everything is black pen or if I'm even doing it. But my intention is to do it for the year.
Cool.
Wow. I would be if you would do it, that would be amazing, to be honest. That would be like a very impressive.
We'll see.
Okay. When I first began scanning comic books and stuff, I kept a log, where I was, write with the scan. I had no idea what I was doing, and I just started doing. And I filled like 3 or 4 notebooks up until I finally realized, what am I doing this for?
Yeah. But there's something about that kind of cataloging and organization, like it. Rasa and I were talking about it. I don't remember if it was last week or when it was, but this organizing, it's part of it for me. It's really, it kind of adds to it. Like you feel like your and especially in your case, Donna, like I'm cataloging this history and scanning things, and like. It's a great, I don't know. I think it's fun as well with the reading and things.
Honestly, like since see people doing that on Twitter and keeping the lists, it's always the back of my mind. Because now when we were like that first year, like this year's the first talk we had, I was kind of thinking, so what did I read? And I was like, honestly, it's like, I mean, if I see it visually, but that's me as a person. I need to see it visually so I remember myself what I did. So it's kind of sad, but it actually would be nice because it's kind of like at the end of the day, see what your tastes are like, because throughout the months, it really does entail what's happening. Summertime, you want something more cheerful, maybe. Wintertime, you read all gloomy stuff because it's all gloomy outside.
Right.
And you'll be taken over by the weather and stuff like that.
Well, and I mean, I think when I did it in 2021, one of the surprises to me was how much kind of DC and Vertigo I had read through the year. I'd assumed when it came to like the big two or whatever that Marvel would have been more, but so it's cool to kind of look back at those things. I've requested through Twitter, you can only go back so far. So I've requested all of my tweets and Twitter from the entire time that I'm on there. I've got to the 10th to download it all because they've sent it to me already. So it's the archive, because I'd like to go back to 2021 and kind of have a look at that list again. I did have a list at some point, but I don't know what the heck I did with it. But I did kind of have a printout of what I read that year. But again, I'd like to just kind of see that again.
I downloaded my Twitter file, but I can't figure out how to open the darn file.
Oh, like really? Okay.
The zip file or some kind. And
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to open it.
Yeah.
This unzip, there's called unzip.
Like WinZip, I think, is one of
them.
Oh yeah,
too. Or WinZip or something. It depends which kind of software. If you Windows or something like that, I think it's WinZip. And there's an unzip on Mac, as far as it is. It's a free software. It's usually you shouldn't be paying for anything.
I looked into the link for that comic book, and apparently the link is expired. But I had it as a PDF, and I emailed it to both of you. So I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not. I don't know whether we could share it some way. I don't really.
Yeah, for sure.
Do that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let me.
It's kind of a big PDF. It's like 31 megabytes.
Oh, okay. We'll see. Maybe next time we'll, I don't know, show it, because I don't know if I'm gonna, when you host you internet,
system.
Yeah, exactly. When I host, it's usually my internet goes like, I can't keep up. Okay, my turn. So of course I'll have to Daredevil it.
All right.
At least Daredevil a little bit. Yes. So I'm going through my collection where I'm thinking like, in 200s I have every issue, and of course I don't. But this came into picture while I was looking at my files, and because it's who is this man in black? Of course, the first intriguing part of the cover, and where is Daredevil? So I think there was an event from X-Men, and they end up being in hell. I think, and Daredevil partook, and he disappeared, and this is when he's back. I don't have an issue before that. And I don't have issue continue the story. Maybe I'll get hold of it. But what's intriguing about it, that our Daredevil came into be back in New York, and this is, by the way, by Anne Nocenti in Lee Weeks, Al Williamson in inks. Really beautiful panels for Daredevil. Really, I think they just absolutely nailed it. Like panels like these of Daredevil, and especially with that blue background, is one of my favorite things, because of, I don't know, it just really works. Or that gritty line of his face, like it just really screams Daredevil. So Inferno, thank you, Jackie. Oh, there. Yeah, I think something that happened.
These are into the 300s now, right?
What?
The Daredevil issues. Sorry, what issue number was this again?
284.
Oh, 284. Okay.
Yeah, so sorry, I didn't mention. I said 200s. That's why you didn't. Yeah, 284. Okay. And I've been, because what I'm trying to do now, because I've been reading them slowly. Like you start seeing the gaps in collections. So of course I'm gonna have to go and get hold of some of them somewhere somehow. I don't really want to do it online, to be honest. Maybe there's the plan of me going into that Comic Mart. Hopefully. Yes. Anyway, so Daredevil proper struggles. He doesn't understand what's happening. He's still kind of it's like memory loss also, and he's like he doesn't know who he kind of is. Doesn't even know that he's maybe, it's me, Daredevil kind of thing. But it's like he's what his other personality is. So he calls himself Jack in this one. So he's Jack Murdock. It's not Matt Murdock, but Jack Murdock. You find out about that right at the end of this
Battling
issue.
Jack.
Yeah, because of who is going to take advantage of this situation Daredevil's in, and his bad name starts with B. You probably already know, Bullseye, of course. So because Daredevil was not there, Bullseye doesn't care to wear a mask. He seems to be. He's running around and stealing things from people because he can, because nobody's there to defend the streets, as Daredevil was disappearing for a while, and newspapers was still kept saying Daredevil is not apparently there. And even to his to my surprise, he went to the bar to play pool with somebody. So he just walks randomly in the bar, and everybody's like, "Who? What Daredevil's coming to have a drink?" And it's like everybody's confused. And Daredevil himself, he doesn't understand. So he has a drink, and somebody asked him to play a pool game, and he's like, "Yeah, okay." And he lost. And everybody's like, "Oh my God, I won against Daredevil. How is that possible?" And there's, of course, those beautiful panels once again. Absolutely love it. This Lee Weeks has really nailed this. I don't know. It seems to be any kind of like these later stages, even though after not famous names and everything, they're still really capturing the Daredevil essence, because it's Anna Senti's writing, and I think she's really doing great. And I'm more of her Daredevil I'm reading, the more I'm enjoying.
Yeah.
I mean, even more I'm enjoying myself. So anyway, so he comes into a lot of scuffles because people are starting to take advantage of his situation. And then, of course, we have the scene, and I was like, at first I wasn't aware it was Bullseye, first of all, because it was kept secret throughout this, and right until the last pages. And then we have this scene where he's using pennies in his hand, and he's like starts shooting. And you like, and he, of course, he's not missing at all, and everybody just falling down because of the scuffle Daredevil was having to deal with. And then he takes his Daredevil's masks, and he's like, haha. And apparently, in the next issue, he's gonna pretend to be Daredevil, the Bullseye. But I'm not sure, because I don't have the issue after that, unfortunately, which is really intriguing. But I really liked the way everything is being set up. So kind of like not really disclosing all of information. But then that's him, Bullseye, sitting and saying, "I'm Jack Murdock," and blah blah blah, and what's the big deal of that, or something like that. So it's really nice paneling. I think that the inking is so well done, and this
it's
page
really nice.
just stands out really nicely.
Totally.
So another win for the Innocenti's Daredevil. So well worth the time, and it's a pity I'm finding gaps in my collection, but maybe it's a good thing, because my goal has always been to read what I have and what I own. And I always thought that, those 2 in 300s, I was kind of set. But apparently I was in the clouds when I was collecting this stuff,
right.
Because I really wasn't aware. My organization skills are quite crappy in that time, I guess. Yeah. So now I'm finding out. So anyway.
I feel like that would be something that you would probably find fairly easy at Comic Mart if you went, hey? That kind of era of Daredevil?
I used to have this really good website I used, because the prices never were overblown. So in comparison, the same issue I probably got, I don't think I paid more than £1, let's say this way.
Right.
Now there's an eBay minimum $3.50 and price for the shipping and blah blah blah, and it becomes like a trade. So why would I even dare to go that route? But because I don't have comic book shops around me, I tend to travel too far over distances. My comic book collecting has been shrouded to nothingness, but but I'm trying to make a bit of a change, hopefully. So I'm thinking really about that Mart, because it's a really good event. Mm-hmm.
That's the thing, not to try to stop you from what you're doing, but I'm excited if you go to Comic Mart, because I want to hear the story of what it's like there now after being away for so long.
Yeah.
Hello, Paulo Costa.
Yeah. How are you doing? So it's also like reading those stories and keep on thinking, maybe it's not like in later stages, maybe it won't be interesting as much as what people of course are saying. But so far, every Daredevil issue I pick, it's always intriguing.
Right.
It's fascinating who comes to play and who's drawing it and how, and just keeps the same momentum, which is exactly what you want. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
cool.
Yeah, very nice.
Ross, I know you're a Daredevil fan, so I had something I wanted to show you.
Oh no!
I was at a show in 1989, and John Romita Jr. was the guest. And I was talking to him, and I asked him to do me a sketch, and he says, "Well, what do you want me to draw?" And I said, "I'd like to see the Punisher killing Daredevil." And he looked at me, like, well, he didn't bat an eye. He sat down and drew it, and he drew this. I don't know whether you can make it out.
Oh!
Holy shit, man.
Oh, that's a perfect scene.
That's amazing. That's really amazing.
That was in 1989. I like to think that maybe I had something to do with all the superheroes starting to get killed in the after
that.
Oh,
that's amazing.
Perfect.
Wow.
That's a really good scene, man. Oof.
Yeah.
Everybody like, here you go. Jack was like, wow. Yeah, very good.
Just no messing around, walking up and plugging them. He didn't see it coming, I guess.
No, I guess not.
No, those superpowers were on sleep mode.
Yeah.
Everybody's saying that. Yeah, very good. Thank you for sharing that. That's great.
Yeah, no, that's great.
It just made my it's really cool. I would do love a Daredevil. Me and Terrence are a fan.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean that's one of the things you read quite a bit of last year too. Hey, Rasa, like that would have been one of them. I think it was almost on a weekly basis. He had a Daredevil update for us.
I mean, I always is there, so that's the thing. As like we were talking about the goals and what I want for this year, continue. Just don't forget them. And it's 10-2 because you file them nice and neatly, and then you forget what you have in there. And then that's why I like those drawer systems, because you open them up, you can just open whatever feels your fancy. And then I kind of keep now what I read, so I kind of keep a note, like mental note, so I can. And then of course this was the next one I had, and it's like I looked, of course, for next issue, and I don't have it. Like, oh, what a good organization, Rasa. Why did you do that to yourself?
Yeah.
But it's gonna keep my back of my head what I need an issue now, because I've read it and I'm already intrigued with the story. So it's a good way of thinking this way, like just keep that in mind.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Did you have anything else you wanted to share with us, Donald?
Not really. The only comic book I bought this year is, the Doctor Strange.
Beauty.
Oh, yes.
I read that, and it's kind of strange. I don't really know exactly what's going on, but
you read it. Wow, I'm amazed.
Yeah, well, it was a slog a little bit.
Yeah.
But, did you read it?
It is not easy to read whatsoever.
But it might be interesting. I don't know. And the other thing I got was I was at Half Price Books, and I've been watching this book for a long time. They had it for $50, and I was just like, well, I can't really afford it, but I got a $25 gift card for Christmas, and and I had a $5 coupon, so I got it for like $20 out of pocket. So,
Beauty, can you show us some of that?
Oh yeah, it's a beautiful book. It's I don't know if you're into Alex Toth.
I'm starting to really get into him. He's kind of somebody that I've always known the name, but started digging into a little more last year. So
he draws. He draws the heart of things. He takes it as simple as possible.
Yeah,
and then when you color it, you can see he's just made all the right decisions.
Right.
Wow.
This book has the work he did for Standard in 1952 to 1954.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
It's genre comics, like war comics and romance and horror comics. And there was one page here that was really interesting. They showed the page and then the original next to it. See if I can find it.
It's not the easiest feat when you do live chat.
Yeah.
Well, it's not. I should have marked it.
I always think that I should mark stuff, and I never do. Every week.
Oh, there you go.
Oh no.
It's my fault. Wrong button. Sorry.
All right. But it's just simple.
Yeah.
It's nothing flashy, but he's just like, I guess, what they call an artist,
right?
That you can look at it and just really appreciate what he's doing. He's just so good.
Yeah, I mean, there's something about his design. Obviously, I mean, doing all the design for animated shows and things, Herculoids, etc. Yeah. There's something about, and I don't think I have anything by him in color. I've mostly got black and white stuff. Like I've got the Creepy Presents Alex Toth hardcover that Dark
Oh, yeah.
Horse did, and then some random appearances in comics. I'm trying to think, maybe there's a couple of color things in some of the horror magazines, but I'm really growing to appreciate it when I see it a lot more than I probably did at one point. There's something about the quality of the panels and the pages, and like his spotting of blacks that everybody seems to comment on as well too. It's really beautiful. That looks like a really nice book.
Yeah, DC is sitting on such a treasure trove of his work, things that he did for like My Greatest Adventure and House of Secrets, and it's just so much really, really great material, but there's nothing that's like a blockbuster.
Right.
But if they would publish a book of his work, I think it would sell. They'd be amazed at how well it sold.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, he's one of those guys that, like you're saying, artist, and I think a lot of people would be on board, and that sucker would sell out pretty quick.
Well, all the creepy stuff of Dark Horse presents the artists, and generally were very popular, and you can't find them now. They're not in print.
No, they're out of print. They're very expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a couple that I wanted, but I mean, same thing, like just couldn't find them at all. So
it's a pity, because there's much more work to an artist than what you have on the bookshelf sometimes. So
who did you say put out that book, Donald? That Toth one?
Well, that's Fantagraphics.
Oh, Fantagraphics. Okay.
No, it was published in like 2011, I think.
Okay.
So older book, out of print.
Yeah.
Another book that I picked up at Half Price Books was called Wally's World. It's a biography of Wally Wood.
Okay, cool.
And I just started reading it, but it's he had a very amazing life. He was what they call him here, the brilliant and tragic death of Wally Wood, the world's second best comic book artist.
Yeah.
Which it's like I couldn't really argue with that. He was very good.
Yeah.
He was, especially as an inker. I mean, anybody he would ink, it would turn into Wally Wood.
Right.
But it's a very sad story. He's lost his eyesight in the end, and he was never really a very fast artist. He would, held it back in a lot of ways. But it's kind of a sad story. There's this picture in this book. I don't know whether you can see it, but this is the content of Wally Wood's wallet when he died.
Oh no.
And like a social security card, a driver's license, a gun permit, and his business card, and $1.
$1. Wow.
Oh no.
And he committed suicide also.
Yeah.
Very sad story. But I'm looking forward to reading this book because there's a lot of details about his life that I don't know.
Right. Right. Yeah. Apparently not the easiest guy to get along with later stages too. Right.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah.
But he was kind of bitter, I guess, when his powers were declining, and he was still in demand, I think, but he just couldn't produce, and I think that was tore at him.
Right.
So who's above him? Sleepy is asking. Kirby, Eisner, Kenneth.
Yeah, you have to be one of those. Kirby. I mean, it's hard to put anybody above Kirby. Although Jack Cole was really a great artist, and if he hadn't just stopped doing comic books, I think he was very prolific. He might give Kirby a run for the most prolific comic artist because he did a lot of stuff. Plastic Man, of course, was his big creation that everyone knows about. But then he started doing a lot of crime comics in the 50s and then they became, and he did some really explicit stuff. And I think that he was ashamed of that. And it's like his wife left him, I think. And he just had a very sad life at the end. Hugh Hefner hired him away and paid him huge amounts of money to do cartoons for Playboy. So he gave up comic books, which is, it's just a shame. I would like, he could have drawn comic books for another 20 or 30 years, but he just had so much sadness in his life that he just couldn't go on.
In the crime one, I think one of the images isn't that kind of graphic eyeball.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what little I've seen of his, I love. I don't have nearly enough of it.
He was really amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a great life in like that Steranko history of comic books. He recounts like how Jack Cole went on a cross-country bicycle trip when he was like 16, 17 years old. And, the kind of experience that you have that really make you a real artist, but to get out and see the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's very interesting.
Have some experiences. Yeah.
Wow.
Very cool.
Very good. Okay, Terrence, your turn, I guess.
I think what's looking like my last for this week.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this was from the bookstore, the 50% off. 2 from Piranha Press, Hardcore and The Sinners, both from Alex Stevens.
Mm-hmm.
Man, these were something else. So one of the things that I watch Living the Line, and Carson Grubaugh says it often about artists coming to comics with the history of art behind them as opposed to the history of comics behind them. And I don't know about Alex Stevens where he's coming from with that, but this is presenting some comics in kind of a very cool way. There's a whole bunch of, it feels like there's a couple of different techniques happening in here. One of them that almost feels like it's happening is almost very painterly, but then there's also stuff like this that almost feels like, blocks of color just cut out and laid on. I know it's not that, but that's kind of, it has that kind of simplicity. Again, maybe hand in hand with Alex Toth, this kind of taking a simpler approach to things, but making something gorgeous. Like both of these books are gorgeous. I think I liked Hardcore a little more than, well, actually that's hard to say. I started saying that and now I'm not so sure. I enjoyed both of these books. Let's just say that they were very different reads. The Sinners was a lot beefier a thing to get through. Hardcore read really fast, but both of them were just surprisingly good. The only reason I picked them, I've seen these around forever and ever and ever, but they're never kind of cheap enough where I feel like I want to take a gamble on them. These were a couple of bucks a pop, and it was, it became kind of I can't let these slide at like $2 or $3 each or whatever it was, right? I've got to finally get these. And they're both amazing, but there's something about this real bold shapes and colors. I mean, look at this shot through the banisters there.
Wow.
And the shadows and the background on the ground. Like, it's gorgeous stuff. Another guy I don't know much about, so I wish I could tell you more of his history. And then this one is Hardcore, and it's about this group of skinheads. And it's a pretty grueling story, not in the way that you might thinking that they're skinheads, but it's still really, like, not in like it's not a story of them, burning someone's house down or lynching people or anything. It's kind of the dynamics of the group, just kind of their leader being just this incredibly damaged person who just treats those around him just horribly, and kind of what happens from that. And one of the guys trying to just break free of that world and try to find a new life for himself. But again, you get these beautiful pages. I mean, look at those eyes just staring at you from the page there. I love those thin panels. I think they work exceptionally well to really kind of pinpoint you on a moment, so really impressed. And again, they're a little bit of a bigger, they're kind of magazine size, so you get that. You get something a little bit bigger to feast your eyes on, but even seeing them as pages themselves and those colors are really, really nice.
Cool.
Hardcore somewhere.
Sorry, say that again, Donald.
I think I've got that Hardcore book somewhere.
Oh, okay.
It's been a long time since I read it, but it's really, really a cool book.
Yeah. Yeah, it's worth pulling out again to have another look. I mean, both of them, the stories were good, but I think I was really blown away by the art. I was just really amazed. Again, he's one of those artists where he gives you that impression. It's like, oh, I could do that, and kind of gets you excited to try things. I know that I couldn't, don't get me wrong, but it gives you that impression that, you know, you kind of want to, or at least for me, you want to try to now go and do something creative and want to try to experiment with things, right? And that's what's so fun sometimes about reading this stuff, just giving you that boost of creativity, just looking at someone else's work.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there you go.
Not much read, eh?
Not too much. I mean, the only other one I wasn't super crazy about. I read 2 issues of this Loose Teeth, which is something else I got. It was fine enough, but I don't really have much to say about it. Other than Fat Dog Mendoza is in it, which if you've been following us for a while, that was a comic that I had that I really thoroughly enjoyed. It's a lot of that stuff in there. So yeah.
Okay, so I have a couple of library things I've managed to pick up and read. Also very happy when library has some Mignola stuff. So
nice.
It's called Falcon Spear. So there's this artist named Warwick Johnson Cadwell. I wasn't very familiar. He's from this part of the pond, England, as well. So Mignola's story, like your atypical folk tale. And of course, the cover is by Dave Stewart, but the art and color is by the artist I mentioned prior to that. So this was printed in 2021, so it's quite recent publication. Just to tickle cracks the crack, there you go, straight in the front page. So it's like, okay.
Egged.
Yeah. So the story it has a it's about the people who goes after, like vampires, or the troubles, like where like werewolves is, or somebody who's killing in the era. And it starts with a story saying about 15 years earlier, somewhere in Europe countryside. And of course, in the Europe countryside, you see a castle, because that's what we countryside in Europe has. Anyway, so it tells a story of this group of 4 guys who are basically going of this nefarious character vampire the 15 years ago. And so just to introduce us who they are, how they deal with the situations. But in these days, 15 years later, 3 of them are part of one. So a group of 4 usually goes and deals with that situation, but one of them is disappearing, and a group of 3 starting to receive this mysterious letters without nothing inside them, apart of just having a stamp, and not aware of what's happening exactly. So of course they try to investigate, and thinking that one of his members is in trouble. And what they do find out, that they go into this place, Betivka. I don't know where is that exactly is. Maybe it's a bit made up. Probably is. Anyway, to look for this friend of theirs, and they go in everywhere, sorts of location, to find some informations. When suddenly they meet this kind of grim-looking dude. It almost feels like he's not supposed to be in the living. And ask them, they say, like, come in the midnight, I know the location of your friend you're looking for. And they're like, what proof do you have? And he showed his ring as a proof, and they were all stumbled because they're thinking really something bad happens. So when they go to meet the same guy at midnight, he turns into dust. But to their luck, the person who they were looking for is there, and he sits down there like nothing happened. And he's just like, I need to tell you a story. And the story, I don't know if you're gonna like this, but I have to tell you what's happening. So he tells a story why he's there and what's happening. And he was looking for a cannibal, basically a person, a living being. He was thinking it was a vampire, but it's a living person who's basically killing for fun, because he is he's a nephew of this wealthy kind of like a person in the town, like a well-known, and he's not being able to touch because of his background, you see. So he has this really rich uncle who can protect him, so he can do whatever he wants in the castle, kind of thing, like a kid in the castle doing whatever he wants. So this friend of his tried to basically found out situation. He found the guy in and but because of he is living, he was so livid with himself because he can't help. Because the only way you could do that kind of person is go through the right channels, arrest him, get him incarcerated, and all that stuff. But of course, because of his wealthy background's uncle, nobody's doing anything about it. So the guy decides to be like crazy. Okay, so I'm gonna find this sewage vampire who's gonna turn me into vampire, and I'm gonna deal, and I'm gonna give him a justice. So he tells that story to his friends, and his friends like, I cannot believe what you're talking about. So what's happening? So are you a vampire? And basically, the end of the story is, in order to get his justice, they basically gonna kill him because he started to like to be what he was, or what he turned into. So another tale of Magnola's beautiful, kind of small snippet of what kind of stories he likes to tell. It's really nicely done, and
beautiful art.
Yeah, and it's really, really slim. That's like, I don't know how many issues there was in this. It doesn't, of course, tells you in here because it's Dark Horse. They're very mysterious.
Right.
Did they say originally how many issues they had? No, I cannot tell you. Oh wait, nope. No, I can't tell you how many.
What if it was something that was just written for that format?
It might have been, but it's quite a few of them stories that he likes to put in singles, and then he puts them in this nice hardcovers, as you see. So, and it says adult. That's why how library entails for people, not for kids.
Right.
Adults. Also, I get hold of some other books which I didn't have managed to read. They were very feminine, like females are. So this is
cool.
IDW's stories for you to find out about new female artists, and also so anthology. That's what I basically was trying to say. So very nicely produced book. And it has quite a few artists in here, and none of them I basically have well aware of it. And each one has very different art styles. So this is the first, called Julia's story. Then you have 24 Hours, which was kind of intriguing, where the girl wakes up, or actually a mother wakes up to deal with her situation, and then the world kind of flipped upside down, where females were in charge and men were just used for like secretary jobs and stuff like that. So that was intriguing. And suddenly she wakes up in the morning, phew, it's like, oh, we're back to normal. Which is, I don't know if all females will say the same thing, but yeah.
Yeah.
Then you have this horrendous story called, not horrendous, but it's horrendous for teenagers. Okay, so if you have a teenage girl, or the life of teenagers who's going through that kind of thing, and school, and body shaming, or body that kind of part where you're not any kind of comment that makes, and if you're not really strong-willed personality, it will take it to a point where anorexia comes into play. What really helped in this one, it's very manga style art, but the expressions work so well in here that your kind of I kind of lived through that kind of stuff, not like being, or I have more will apparently, and I didn't really much care what people say, even though in some points I did, but I was not willing to sacrifice my own well-being for that kind of sense of gratitude for the way I looked, even though I was, believe me, I had problems in generally, but that kind of gave me that background, even though it's not really good to read, but it's really well aware what other people can experience as well, that you're not alone in the world, that a lot of girls will go through that, no matter what happens, and you can't prevent it, unfortunately, because we live in society and we have to be kind of things. But it really resonated with me because I kind of felt I was there. And also there's loneliness, which I really enjoyed the art, but there was so much reading to do, so I lost my train of thought, so I flipped it through it because I don't know, and it didn't capture my attention. And honestly, artistically, it's really beautiful. They all really different to each other.
Yeah,
very
nice though.
As the morphology is really like helpful. This one is just a poem, and the art was just really nicely represented towards that. It's all like very kind of feminist movement towards that kind of thing in here. And as I say, like really beautiful arts and stuff. But I am not, to be honest, I don't know if I would be purchasing this as an item of something I want to keep. As a library item, is absolutely beautiful, because I think that's how we discover more and more, or at least I do. But as a purchase item, I don't know how it is appealing to other people. I don't know how you guys are with anthologies, but for me, not every single story has captured my attention.
Right.
The art did definitely work on all bases whatsoever. I think it's really intriguing. But the story-wise, sometimes I just had to, like, my brain was switching itself off, because it's kind of have the same similar subject to each. So how many times can you read the same subject with different stories? So, but for the art's sake, I really intriguingly wanted to continue, just flip through that, because I wanted just to see what's happening around.
Yeah, there's some nice looking stuff for sure.
Yeah, and as I
would read
say,
that book.
Sorry.
I would read that book.
Well, there you go. So as I say, it's not like for that moment. I don't know. For me, I'm still kind of learning the anthology stuff, and then like not everything captures my attention. But like as I say, I'm really kind of like happy to have library who is continuously throwing things at me like this, or at least this captures my attention. So it shows you 9 intimate dynamic stories and stuff like that. So IDWs, this is really recent as well, by the way.
That's neat if they do series like that, you know, like I think of now from Fantagraphics.
Yeah.
Of trying to give newer creators a voice, even though they're not all newer creators, but I think that's pretty great.
This is 2022, June.
2022, yeah.
Yeah, so it's very recent. So once again, a library is kicking ass, like on subject, on stuff they have.
Yeah,
another
for sure.
thing I definitely have not read this one, but I have it. I'm gonna give you what I thought maybe next chat we're gonna do. So this is Bubbles, based on Smash It podcast, which is kind of odd. I'm not sure exactly what it is. The art is really good. The first story really gave me a kick because it was funny. So this girl is running in the park, and she's minding her business. She has the earphones, and of course this dude sees her, and he finds it funny to approach her and say, "Oh, nice fanny pack." And he's keep on approaching her, and she's like, "I don't have business. I really don't have time for you." She's like, not really feeling comfortable, and he's keep on trying to get attention. But what story breaks is this creature in the woods, and you're like, what the hell? It seems to be not normal conversation. And there's
what great pages.
Yeah, and this monkey attacking her, and she's like basically protecting him with this. So basically almost like a Buffy Vampire Slayer kind of thing. She's going for the run, and this guy's troubling her and everything, and this monkey comes into fruition, and she just like sorts him out, and she's like, yoo-hoo, donuts, totally could go for Johnny Donuts now. And the guy is still there, and he's like, oh, I want to talk to you, and she just punches the lights out of him, and she's like, phew, I'm having a good day now. So I have not finished. It's really hilarious, but I didn't have enough time. But the art style is great. Hopefully the story will be as good as the first couple of pages, because if it is, it's definitely going to get my attention.
Yeah.
But when is this published? Blah 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 blah. Okay, come on. It's the first and second publishing house, by the way. It says 2021. Okay, so it's also a recent thing, because first, second publishing has also intriguing tales, and they really give artists, whatever artistic license to go to whatever they wanted to tell them. And art-wise, it's beautiful, and seems to there will be some magic going on. So I will definitely be intrigued to give you a little bit more out of the library.
Lily and I read something from First Second the other day, but I've forgotten what it's called now. It's a trilogy of books, but that publisher has started popping up more and more on my radar. It seems like they're jumping off the shelves at me, so that's great.
And that Tilly Walden's book I was talking to you last week about, it's from First Second Publishing as well.
Right. Yeah.
Now the last thing I've read, and library once again. So the first time I'm looking to see if library offers like sorry for my horribly looking screen, but that's the way I'm dealing with at the moment. But library also able to give you some of graphic novels online, like like via app. So this is the only thing what really kind of, they had some Hellboy stuff, really little, like interesting, a lot of like more kids version stuff, like there's this popular comic every kid's reading, is called New Dog or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, so but this is Neil Gaiman and Peter Cressell's work, Only the End of the World Again.
Yeah.
But the artist is Troy Nixie, which I was not aware of, but I really like his work. Like so this is one of the first pages. It looks really, really intriguing. So, and that's basically gives you the whole. So the story basically goes of this dude who wakes up in the bed, who is like, oh, like I'm not really feeling really well. But then we find out slowly that he's really sick. Like if feel at the beginning, it feels like when the way story is telling that he's basically drunk and he's gonna puke out, but we don't realize that there's fingers he's puking out as well. So the story unfolds to the point of him being a werewolf. And that's him waking up afterwards without really recollecting exactly what happens. And he ends up in this little town in New England, I think America, where not like it's really out of the, like out of everywhere. A lot of people not really doing much good. Like, like there's nothing to do in the city. And the time of the year is where winter, so snowy, kind of like, and by the sea, and it seems to be way too quiet for him. And he's doing this job, which I'm not sure how to describe because I don't actually understand it. What's his, like, he takes a job from the phone calls anyway. So the whole story basically surrounds him because this little town thinks, because he's a werewolf, and the only way to do this good, like to end the curse of the town, is to kill him, because he's a werewolf. So what the people surrounding in the town is basically getting him to be comfortable around them and show him to go to this location where basically we'll try to do the deed. And it's really well told. It's really well written, of course. I guess Neil Gaiman really nicely plays with words, kind of complicated words sometimes for some. But now if you give them a chance, and graphically, as I say, I can't really show you nicely, but such a beautiful way executed work. Of course, Peter Gressel just did the like layouts, or it's just his, just his name there, but nothing to of his art you'll see in here. But this Dixie guy did really well, and it really worked. And the story flew like really quickly. Everything came into fruition so rapidly, and you find out like how he turns because of the moon, and it's just graphically and story wise, it was portrayed really well. And I was surprised to get hold of that in the library app as well, because I wasn't thinking that they were gonna have that much going on, because it's not really a popular thing. It seems to be, especially like maybe books wise, they're really into it now. It seems to be more and more they buying and give you as a choice to read. But digitally, it seems to be they still kind of like just grasping on of idea of people maybe not even taking that app out, or using for some other things to do and or have available for. So really well drawn and written story. I'm not really saying nicely describing it, but it's well worth anybody's time because of the Neil Gaiman and Peter Cressell. It's just like the fantasy, they unravel the story so well. But if I spoil it, how the story evolves in generally, would be quite a shame, because that's how the beauty of the story they told is kind of like in motion. You can't just like, oh yeah, it's a werewolf, but how and what's happening in between the scenes. I didn't want it to really kind of enclose that out now, because if you guys give a chance, or somebody will, they will see it in here. So
cool. Yeah, it looks great.
There you go. So that's my end of the reading for this week. So
yeah, I know that with our library you can do the downloads. They offer the digital stuff too. I've never checked it out though. I should maybe have a look to see what they have to offer.
Because never know, because Well, the kids wise, I think maybe we'll give a, like people, our kids usually now use tablets in schools as well.
Yeah.
So they would be way more familiar with tablets if you do, of course, have one at home.
Mm-hmm.
And show that to the kids, because there's quite a few of them. And there was, like I say, Magnola's couple of them, which I was very surprised that they had it. But I guess folk tales is easy to read, like that I was showing you earlier. So it was very short story, nothing to invest your time too much into,
Right.
but discover something maybe intriguing. So, yeah.
Cool.
I admire the diversity of stuff that you guys read, both of you. And it inspires me to look for some of that stuff.
That's good. That's why we're here to share what we are reading. And honestly, I'm really lucking out with the library, because the library is opening my understanding what comic books really is, because there's so much there to discover, and there's so many new things, of course, but then also old stuff I have not yet even grasped the idea of. But this is a good way for me, especially library, not to spend too much my own cash at the moment if I cannot do that, but still can enjoy it. So, and I also like to be in libraries, because it's kind of becoming my
peaceful,
my zone, where I go in there is quiet, and it's like, oh yes, finally.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, to kind of piggyback on what Donna was saying, I think one of the things I love about, because we talked, I guess, when you first came on, Rasa, on YouTube, but it was a little bit before we kind of started talking a lot more. Yeah. But it's been great to kind of follow you from the first videos till now and see, like, your path of the stuff that you've read and the avenues you've gone across. Like, lately it's just the breadth of stuff that you're reading is very, very cool. I mean, even stuff that's none of us have heard of, it's so great to get that perspective on different things, right? So,
well, I'm amazed myself, to be honest, because before the beginning, when I started, it was all superheroes, because that's where I didn't know anything new. Like, I knew what I saw on YouTube. First of all, I knew what I liked, because I grew up with superhero animations, which were my big thing, and it's always going to be in my back of my head. It's like the Turtles, they just like hopped up there for sure. And then of course X-Men were like Rogue and Gambit were the two guys I wanted to follow more than, for example, like your other X-Men part. Like Wolverine was okay for me, but the Gambit and Rogue were kind of like, you never know what you're gonna get from, especially Rogue was like never, like she was such a strong female. I was like, yes, go on, punch them. Especially love that part of them. So that was my understanding. And then when I started this YouTube thing, and discovered the comic books to what actually they could be, more than what you usually see of mainstream, is lovely. And this library is just opening even more for me, because I just have a chance to understand what other people has idea of, and I slowly introducing that to my son, who is just about to turn 5 or in a month's time, and so, but he's already books is a good thing. He wants to go library now. He's not like, drag you in the library. No, he says, look at the library.
Yeah, that's great. That's very cool.
When the library is closed, he's like, he looks at me like, it's not, I'm sorry, we went in the wrong day, because this is the day for him now. So that's what the kicker is. So for me, I have to get him introduced to something like that, because it opens just your mind, to other possibilities and imaginations, which is great.
Yeah, totally.
And
just another way of communicating.
Does he like comic books, or does he like other things?
Well, at the moment, comic books is great as long as it is zombies, sharks, pirates, anything like that. Like, he absolutely obsessed with Halloween, which is interesting. He doesn't. There's not a day when I'm not hearing some Halloween song, which is so like above me already. Like, come on, man, you have to get you like. So I say to him, let's watch Pink Panther, which is one of my favorite cartoons growing up was as well. And he loves that, but then his attention span is this much. But now, like, he knows. So now Batman is another thing, which is, since he was born, I always like did this stupid thing, but I was singing that no, Batman, and now he finally, after so many years, he repeats back saying Batman. It's like, yes, I won. So I was doing this little thing. I was like, never gonna work. But now he's like, he hears that song and says Batman right at the end. It's like, yes, I did it. So Batman and Batman toys is his another thing he really enjoys, but his huge passion is Lego. Absolutely Lego obsessed now.
Yeah.
My fault once again, but I do. But it's just beautiful because Lego has now their own comics as well in magazine form.
Yeah.
Which I'm slowly showing, kind of buying him once a month. And like you get Lego and you read a story, and he like, oh look, story, and especially if it's like really like grisly stories, like his attention is there all the time. He's gonna eat him. He's gonna eat chop 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 like this. So yeah. So but as I say, slowly the books are coming in there, and I show him like of course, I show him I wanted to show him Calvin and Hobbes. Of course, they found peanuts in his section of the library. So there's a kids section, and of course, and there's us, the old folks.
Yeah.
And I saw they have lots of Marvel, like a lot. I never thought it's gonna be that many, but like all Spider-Mans, all that stuff. There's plenty, quite a little bit of Batman, but like a lot of Marvel stuff, which is interesting. But then they found Peanuts, and I found Calvin's story in there as well, Calvin and Hobbes, which I absolutely love. So he looked at it, but it's like, it's boring kind of thing for him now. He needs more like attention, like like those crashing or bashing or ninja,
Yeah.
but he doesn't like turtles. And I'm like, you don't like turtles? Oh, he's gone. What happened to Terrence?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. What's happening? Oh, Happy New Year, Miss. So there you go. Terrence is back.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know what I did. I hit a wrong button or something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. To believe me, Miss. So he already is saying games to me. Oh, look, game, because there's so much advertisement. So he watches lots of YouTube Kids.
Yeah.
And there's some ads, of course, all the toys in the world, all the Batmans in the world, and
Right.
all that stuff. Great. For us, not really, because that's what he sees all the time. Oh, toy. But now he shows, because before Christmas, the Switch games come up a lot. It's a thing, so he's like, oh, games. And then my husband plays video games. He's like, let me try. And he's like, we have to watch what we play. But so we kind of introduced that kind of thing to him as well. So there's lots of things happening. Now he's getting that attention finally after a while, because he has a bit of a speech problems at the moment. But he's there. He's already communicating. He's like, I'm busy. I'm playing. Like he tells me, go upstairs. He told me off today. To go upstairs. Like, what? I want my because he's spending a lot of time with his dad on the weekends, because it's on purposely.
Yeah.
And he told me, go upstairs. Like, oh, wow, you're rude. Maybe I don't want you to talk again.
Yeah.
Stop that speech problems. Yeah, he told me to go upstairs and be there. I was like, lovely. That's great.
Hilarious.
Yeah, the kids like that of that age, we don't have filter, it just comes
it's true.
out.
Yeah. Did you have anything else for us, Donald, at all?
Yeah.
No, not really.
Okay.
Really.
Cool.
It was great to have you, Donald. Like,
yes.
As we say to a lot of the guests, like anytime, you're welcome back anytime. Just keep in touch, and we'd love to hear some more.
Honestly, if you find something exciting and you want to share, just to pop in, we're more than happy. Just let us know, and you come here and show us this beautiful artwork. You just like, that the Daredevil's been shot in the head by.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
I will.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be seeing me around.
Cool.
One very good to hear. Okay, that's good. So I guess we're gonna sign off now, eh?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm done talking about my stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you very much, people. Happy New Year. If we not say that to you guys, it's just the first week of January, and we'll see you later, hopefully.
See you next week.
If we keep the schedule. Bye-bye.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah, we should. Bye.
Later.
Bye.